Today we are going to be focusing our discussion on setting effective instructional priorities for next school year. RightPath offers a few different assessment options depending on the grade level. We have rigorous and reliable NYSET approved benchmarks for grades K through 8 that are closely aligned to the New York State assessments. Today we will be focusing more on the elementary middle school level, but RightPath does offer Regents diagnostics for high school levels in all core subject areas. These tests allow for a more focused remediation in areas of deficiency. RightPath benchmarks can be administered online, which is recommended for immediate results, or they can be administered on paper pencil using our bubble sheets. ELA benchmarks typically have 30 questions. Math has about 35 questions. If students take the assessment online, they will see one question at a time, just like you see on the screen, and as they move from question to question, their answers will be saved. This is a sample timeline that one of our partner districts used. This can be used as is or modified to fit your district better. Typically, we recommend starting off the school year with a fall benchmark that can either test previous grade level or current grade level. Many of our partner districts like to start off the year with the previous grade level benchmark to find those gaps from the previous school year. After the students take the assessment, the teacher will identify instructional gaps using RightPath reports, which we'll go over in just a few. Teachers can then begin their instructional planning to align to student needs. AIS and RTI instruction will begin in the fall. Following the fall remediation, we recommend students to take a winter benchmark. During this time, we will identify instructional gaps and standards that students need to be retaught, as well as look for student mastery. We then can analyze student growth from the fall. For winter remediation, AIS or RTI instruction will continue aligning to students' needs in order to help students prepare for the upcoming state assessments. In the spring, the last benchmark will be given. Teachers can identify instructional successes and gaps. They can use this data to finish the school year strong, plan and align for summer learning, and for the following school year.
Step 2 is to analyze the results from the assessments and to begin to take a deeper look at the standards and results. One of the most important pieces of data analysis is to have user-friendly reports for teachers and administrators. They need to be able to run these reports quickly and be able to analyze and understand the reports to be able to affect change. There's many systems that have many different reports. Really, the most typical reports and the most important reports are those that are going to address the standards. So a standards report, a whole class report, individual student reports, and a question level report. If assessment results are not turned around in a timely manner, they can't be effective. Schools need to put systems into place to make sure that insights learned from data analysis are put into practice quickly. We work with our districts to design their calendars such that the assessments and scoring are planned and a PD is scheduled within days of the data results being available. A key component of effective data analysis is the analysis meetings. These meetings are between teachers and instructional leaders that focus on the results of interim assessments. These data discussions are critical to changing a school's culture from one in which the focus is on what is taught to what students have actually learned. Conducting both one-on-one and group meetings can be effective. Group meetings allow teachers to share best practices, while individual meetings let teachers focus on their own unique needs. I'm going to take a few minutes to share with you some reports that are available in the RightPath Student Success System and how they are used in data meetings and action plans. The main report that you would utilize in the credit recovery program from the Right Path instructional reports is the individual learning plan. The individual learning plan is going to outline the learning gaps for each student based on that diagnostic assessment that they took. If they received a question wrong on a particular standard, it will show up on their individual learning plan. These individual learning plans can be assigned to the students for their own personalized path to mastery. The report that you see here is our ID chart, or the performance by standard chart. And what this is going to do is highlight the top missed standards on the diagnostic assessment based off of the number of incorrect responses. This report can be run at the building, class, or even the student individual level. So what it does is it helps to prioritize their individual learning plans at the student level. And let me just describe a little bit of what you're seeing here. So your top missed standards are going to be on the left, and it's going to decrease as you go through. What we're looking at is a school level or a building level report. So there was a lot of students that took this particular assessment. So each of the number of incorrect responses is found above the bar chart in this list. And then you'll see that there's an arc with percents. That percent represents the percent of the incorrect responses on that assessment. So ideally, if you were able to fully remediate that red bar, create equations and inequalities, that standard accounts for 12% of the incorrect responses on the assessment. And that arc is cumulative. So if you were able to remediate the red and yellow section, that accounts for almost 21% of the incorrect responses. So all 6 standards that you're seeing listed here account for almost 44% of the incorrect responses on the assessment. The other thing about our reports is any of our reports in our system are going to be clickable to find lessons to meet those standards. What you're seeing here is one of our Right Path instructional reports called the small group plan. So it looks very similar to your individual plan, except it's going to chunk the students into small groups for tier 2 or 3 instructions. And this is done automatically from the assessment results based on who responded incorrectly to a particular standard. And again, all of the reports are clickable. So in this report, you would actually click the standard code and you would be brought directly to lessons that meet that particular standard. So what you're seeing here is the proficiency by cohort. So this is if you're going to be comparing tests from the same groupings. So we have a pre-test and a mid-test that you have here, and you can see that in the pre-test there was 13 level 1s, and then for those 13 level 1s, you can see their movement in the mid-year test to levels 2, 3, and 4. And then also down below on this chart, you would also see the students' names and their individual scores for each of the exams in that grouping.
The third and final step is to develop an action plan. After implementing assessments and conducting a deep analysis of student results, you're going to want to take action to address students' strengths and, most importantly, their weaknesses. Using the data from the assessment to drive instruction in the classroom is crucial to develop and implement an effective action plan. Based on the results, which standards need to be taught to the whole class, you'll want to analyze why the students didn't learn it, and finally, in your instructional plan, what techniques will you use to address these standards? A few strategies to use when implementing your action plan is to create clear objectives. Teachers should use the assessment results to focus their lesson objectives in the areas that need student improvement. At the start of the class, you can take a quick 5 to 10 minutes to review the standards that are outlined in your action plan that may require a little bit more attention. When targeting certain student groups in the class with specific needs, differentiation can be a good strategy to work with those groups while others work independently. Constantly checking for understanding is an effective way for teachers to see if the action plan is achieving its results. An example of this would be to have all students write their answers on whiteboards and hold it up to show if they're understanding.